Hi, everybody. I'm Quint Kessenich of ESPN. Lacrosse is a game of skill and athleticism. True excellence comes from mastering the fundamentals. Today, we're going to show you an instructional series which addresses some of the key components of the sport of lacrosse. We are joined by an all-star cast: Matt Danowski, Geoff Snider, Ken Clausen, Jesse Schwartzman, and Ned Karate. We hope you enjoy it. Unlike hockey, where all shots come from the ice, in lacrosse there are an infinite amount of release points. Overhand and three-quarter arm releases have the highest success rates. But every great player needs to master the sidearm, underhand, and behind-the-back release. Sometimes you need the sizzle. You've got a full arsenal of shots. You are always a threat to rip the net. We're talking shooting with Matt Danowski, former Tewaaraton Trophy winner, and Jesse Schwartzman, goalie, Major League Lacrosse, two-time NCAA champion. In terms of release points, what is the best shot? Is it overhand? Is it three-quarter arm?
I think the most accurate shot is probably your overhand to your three-quarter arms. But for me, I think you have to have all your shots in the golf bag. If someone throws you a low pass, you got to be able to catch that ball at your feet and be able to shoot it from there. If someone throws you one behind you and you got to shoot sidearm and you're forced to do that, as long as you're in the middle of the field, you should be able to get those shots off.
So you read the situation, you read your defender, and react accordingly. Coaches are often talking about changing levels. What do they mean by that?
Changing levels means that wherever you start your shot, you want to finish in the exact opposite spot. So if I start nice and high here, I want to finish low past the goalie's knees. If I start nice and low here, I want to finish up high. And if I start sidearm, I just want to go either high or low.
Change planes. As a goalie, what is the toughest release point for you to manage?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter whether the shooter's shooting overhand or underhand. As long as that shooter knows to bring the ball from high to low or low to high, it's very difficult as a goalie to save it. What's
important to mention that, you guys have played against each other for years and years, a lot of history between the two of you. Who wins the battle and why?
I would say Jesse probably won the battle, being that he beat me in the national championship twice, but we've had our fair shakes at it, and I know that just from playing Jesse for so long that if I'm shooting from the outside, I know that he likes to bait me into a situation, so I want to try to almost get inside his head, guess what he's thinking, and go opposite.
What's inside your head?
I think I know that Dino's going to try and go low, so I'm going to stay up high for him and wait for it, and then react and go low when he shoots it.
Mind games and a variety of release points. Tell you change levels from high to low or low to high, you're going to score a lot of goals. The pros make it look easy, but shooting on the run is one of the more difficult skills to master. It's an essential skill for offensive players to run past your defenseman and fire a laser at the goal before the defense reacts. Great players make it look easy. Shot velocity comes from an efficiency of motion, torque, hip and shoulder turn. Reach back and let the shots fly. Don't leave any arrows in your quill. We are joined by Ned Karate, former Tewaaraton Trophy winner from Duke University and current professional attackman. When you shoot on the run, it looks fluid and it looks smooth. How do you do it?
I think it's really three things that you need to work on. First, getting your momentum going towards the goal. Secondly, getting your hands back. And lastly, your footwork.
I think the footwork is an area that a lot of young players really struggle with. What should they emphasize?
Definitely. When I'm setting up my dodge, what I like to do is make sure you're getting your momentum, like I said, first off, getting your momentum going towards the goal. Too often you see kids who run towards the sideline and try to shoot on goal. From there, you're going to lose a lot of accuracy, and more importantly, you're taking a lot of power off of your shot.
Where should your hips be faced and your shoulders?
Well, where you get all your power from is turning through your shot. So what you want to do is get your hands back. What this does is two things. It hides the ball from the goalie, and also, like I said, helps to get power on your shot. So by getting your momentum going towards the goal, you're going to be running towards the sideline, but your upper body is actually going to be facing the sideline. This is where you're going to get all your power from, because when you shoot, you want to get off of that right leg and get your shoulders and your hips and your core through the shot as fast as you can.
And what should the finish look like?
And then when you finish, turn through the shot, snap your wrist, but you should turn through so hard that you actually end up facing the opposite way.
What did it look like for you when you were first starting the sport?
Not like that. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, it comes down to body control, getting that weight transfer, and being focused on your footwork. And you too can shoot like Ned Karate. Attacking the goal from behind, the ability to beat your defenseman and generate a high percentage shot. Running past your defender and getting to the goal is a science. It requires speed, power, precision, and a strategic plan. Consistently take the pole to the rack, and you will be a superstar. Understanding your options is a prerequisite to becoming an unstoppable force. Matt, when you're pressing the goal from behind, what are some keys?
Well, What I like to do when I'm behind the cage, if I have a step on my defenseman, I like to dip my inside shoulder kind of buried into him so I can get 2 extra steps, get myself in front of the cage, turn the corner, and I'll be able to shoot with the whole 6x6.
That's a move, speed and power, and then protecting your stick. But typically, defenders will do a better job than what I just did.
Absolutely here. Now, if I can't turn the corner, the stick's upfield, I want to take my defender to 5 and 5. All right, this is a very good spot in the field for an attackman because you can see the whole field and you're dangerous here. And when I get here, I'm going to read your body language to dictate what I do offensively.
Okay, so if you give me a reaction, I'll probably...
So if I'm right here, maybe I'll take 1 big step to the sidelines. Hopefully you bring your stick over, rocker step to the middle of the field, and get my shot off in front of the cage.
Rocker step creates the windshield wipe goal for you. What are some other things you can do?
Right, so if you're playing good defense here, maybe I'll use your momentum against yourself. I'll push into you so you push me back out, right to my step away shot, pivot off that inside foot and get my hands free.
It's a fadeaway jump shot. Let's see that one more time. So you're initiating contact with me to create separation.
Lean into you, hopefully you push me out right to the sidelines, right where I want to be. My stick and step to the sideline, I change hands out here, and I get my shot off.
What is one pro-level tip that a young attackman can benefit from?
Well, what a young attackman needs to learn is that you don't have to beat your man to score a goal. If someone's playing good defense on you and you're around them, all you need to do is get your hands free. So maybe right here again, I can just step away, use you as a screen, and get my shot off that way.
So you create separation to free up your hands.
Exactly. Just like a fadeaway jumper in hoops, all you really need to do is get some separation, get your hands free. You don't got to beat them by 5 yards.
You're a young attackman dodging from behind the goal. Get to high percentage areas, and you will score a ton of goals like Matt. 4-on-3 fast break is an electric moment in a lacrosse game that places a lot of pressure on the point man. Run and gun transition offense is about keeping the ball hot and dishing the rock to the next open man, dicing the defense with ball movement and precision passing. The exclamation point is a slam dunk. Celebration sold separately. Typically, you play the point. Take us through the thought process behind managing all the decisions that are involved.
Well, 4-on-3 happens very quickly. You want to make quick decisions. So a big part of that is receiving the ball in the middle of the field so you can see the entire space. I like to receive the ball right here in the middle of the field, about 12 yards away. That's about my range. Now I can see the defenseman for both guys. I'm not looking at the attackers as much as I'm looking at the defenseman. If Ned's guy leaves early, that's my home run pass. I'm hitting Ned right away. If he's covered, then I'm looking right down to Geoff at the right side. If he's covered, that means I should be open for a shot.
What's important to emphasize about your body posture, because it looks like you're a threat to do a lot of stuff. You can pass, you can shoot, you can dodge.
Yeah, right here when I catch the ball in the middle of the field, I'm in a loaded position. I'm loaded, I'm ready to step in and shoot if I have to, and I can see the entire field and make both feeds if I need to.
Ned, I want you guys to flip it up. You don't look very comfortable down low. Well, anything different from the way you operate when you're the point man?
No, obviously both going to Duke and learning from the same coaches, it would just add to that. Communication is vital in lacrosse, and the fast break is no different. You have to let the midfielder coming down know what the situation is. You have to let him know, fast break, 4-on-3, 5-on-4. So you have to let him know so he doesn't have to turn around and look. And then from there, I would say sneak a peek. And what that means is as the midfielder's running down, before you get the ball, you want to kind of sneak a peek. As you're running to the middle of the field, like Dino said, you want to sneak a peek and see where the defensemen are. Are they kind of cheating a little bit? Are they staying on their man? That way, when you catch the ball, you have a better idea of when you turn your head what you're going to be looking at.
So like a quarterback in football, you've got to read through your progressions, have great fundamentals, play with flair, and play with creativity. And you'll score a lot on your 4-on-3 fast breaks. Coming up next, we will discuss lacrosse with the pros.
I think the hand-eye coordination is by far my best attribute.
Lacrosse players come in all shapes and sizes. Different positions require different skill sets. We'll start with Matt Danowski, who's an attackman. Matt, what was one skill that has allowed you to be so successful?
For me, I think the really mental part of my game has really helped me become, a complete player. I think reading the defenses, seeing one play ahead, and then adjusting and adapting to the defense as the game changes. A
cerebral approach. Ned, you're an attackman. What does it compare in other sports, your roles in attackman?
The position that would jump to mind is definitely quarterback. Being behind at X, me specifically, my position, being behind at X, having to read the play, read the defense, and make decisions before it happens. I would have to, definitely compare to being a quarterback.
Geoff Snider is a midfielder and a face-off man. What's the biggest physical challenge that you face in your role?
Physically being in shape, being ready to go, at the same time being consistent. Going out there and winning the ball for your team is important, both to keep the ball out of the opposing offense's hands and give your defense a break at the same time, controlling momentum, either creating or stopping it.
Ken Clausen plays defense. What is an ideal physical attribute for a defender?
Well, the first thing you're going to hear college coaches say is that as a defender, you need to have quick feet. Defense is much like a cornerback or a free safety in football. You're going to be reacting, be on your toes a lot to what the offense is doing. So having quick feet is definitely a necessary attribute as a defenseman.
Jesse Schwartzman is a goalie. Jesse, where does your skill set fall in comparison to these guys? What's different about being a goalie?
A lot of different things, but I think because you have 100-mile-an-hour balls coming at you and you have to save them with your stick, I think the hand-eye coordination is by far my best attribute.
There are certain attributes that are unique to positions, and there are certain that are shared by all lacrosse players. Face-offs make lacrosse unique. They follow every goal, and they are huge in determining possession and momentum. They can also lead to odd-man rushes. Winning face-offs is part art form and part MMA. Bending the rules to gain an edge is the American way. Anticipate the whistle, but don't jump. Face-off men are known to be rugged, tenacious, crafty, and likely to steal your lunch money if you're not careful. We're joined by Geoff Snider, Team Canada face-off specialist, Major League Lacrosse pro as well. And Geoff, what is a good starting point for young athletes as they want to win a face-off?
Approaching the face-off, I want to be fundamentally sound. I want to do everything the same way every time I face off so that I'm not giving my opponent any idea what I'm going to do next. I come down on the line, being as close to the line as possibly as I can so that I'm explosive and powerful when approaching the ball. That being said, I want to keep all my weight on my feet so I don't have any weight on my hands when I'm coming at the ball because I want to be as quick as possible and maintain that edge.
Balanced and powerful. What is your reaction to the whistle?
My initial reaction to the whistle, obviously trying to be a little bit ahead of it as much as I can, is to get that backhand forward. That puts my stick in the throat of my stick over top of the ball. Coming down close to the line as possible, staying out of the neutral zone, weight on my feet, off of my hands, coming down on top of the ball, punching forward with my backhand is the fastest thing that I can do to win that face-off.
And once you have it clamped, what are your options?
Options are coming out forward with some sort of a plunge, squeezing the sidewalls around the ball and taking an offensive stance, or popping the ball back through my legs to a wingman coming off of the line, picking up that ground ball.
It's awful easy when you don't have an opponent, and he's obviously trying to do the same thing that you are. What is the biggest challenge that you face?
Very similar to a fumble in football. When you see that pile-up take place, sort of anything goes when you're in there, and you got to do whatever it takes to win that ground ball for your team to obviously give your defense a rest and keep the ball in the hands of the offense. So whatever it takes in there, you got to be tough, you got to be scrappy, and be willing to do whatever you need to do to maintain that ball possession.
And that's what you have done. You've shown the ability to get possession for your team. What's a pro technique that you're known for?
One thing I like to do that's a little different from other guys is you see guys either come out in front of them or back between their legs. I like to take the ball and pop it out to my right just because there's never really anybody in that area. They don't expect you to go that way. So I'll come down on top of the ball, pop it out behind me, pick it up, go out the opposite direction that they're expecting me to go.
Technique, timing, and toughness, the keys to facing off. Who is the best player in the history of Major League Lacrosse? And Geoff, I'm going to throw that out to you as the elder statesman of the group.
You got to go with Gary Gait. I mean, he's won everything that you can win in lacrosse. If you look back to starting in Canada with Minto Cups, Man Cups, and then to the NCAA championships and World Championships and obviously MLL championships.
He's won MLL championships as a player and a coach, but you could argue that there were some others, like a guy like Casey Powell, who could argue to be the best in the game.
Yeah, for me, I think Casey really put the league over the top. I mean, he owns the points record. I mean, it seems like he's just been the consummate best player wherever he's been for, as long as I've ever seen him play.
Ken, is there a defenseman maybe that jumps out at you when you were growing up, who you patterned your game after?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up, it's hard to deny that Brody Merrills was a name that you constantly heard. Very good at taking away the ball, bringing it upfield, and being an offensive player as well as defensive, master.
Ned, New Jersey native, grew up when the New Jersey Pride was a franchise in the league.
Yeah, but I'd have to still probably say, all three of the Powells, all three had different games, and all were very successful, as well as Gary Gait. And lots of times when you talk about players in other professional sports, you talk about how many rings they have, and when you look at the Powells and Gary Gait, they've got every award there is. So if that's how you're going to gauge success, I think those guys are some of the best.
Who can be the next Gary Gait? Who's the next star of the next 5 or 10 years?
Probably Sidney Crosby.
Nice.
That's tough. I mean, to project someone now to live up to those standards, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I don't think there is a next Gary Gait. There's not going to be a next Michael Jordan, but I think someone who's, obviously, won championships and put himself in a position like that is, you got to say Paul Rabel. I mean, from World Championships, and he hasn't got an MLL one yet, but championships. He's the next guy brings it almost over his fingers.
One thing that stands out for me, Major League Lacrosse, it's tough to win a championship now. I mean, it's not like there's 1 or 2 good teams. There's 5 or 6. The entire league is very, very tough. I mean, there's no free wins.
Well, championship weekend is one of the harder things to do in sports, to turn it around and play realistically 2 games at full tilt in 24 hours. It's a really hard thing to do in sports. It's not an easy task by any means.
Coming up next, we will teach you how to play tough defense.
I'm going to have my stick in front of him, punch this guy, and rip this ball down.
What appears to be chaos is actually organized mayhem, a defender trying to take the ball away from the offensive ball carrier. Like a ninja with a lacrosse stick, the takeaway defender carves the ball carrier into oblivion. Eye-catching stick checks start with fundamentally sound footwork and a plan. Can you say back brain slap, kayak, pencil check, wrap check, poke check, slap check, over the head, ding dong, and rusty gate? We're joined by Ken Clausen, professional defender, former defender at the University of Virginia, and Geoff Snider's going to be our demo man. Ken, where does a good takeaway check start?
Well, first and foremost, as a defender, you have 2 main objectives. Number 1, you want to stop your offense player from getting a good shot off on the net or scoring a goal. Number 2, you want to get that ball back and return it to the offensive players.
Takeaway artists often talk about setups. How do you set up an offensive player?
Well, the best opportunity to throw a takeaway check is when your offensive player is not a threat to score a goal, which may be just coming over the midfield line or behind the net, a point where he can't really get a shot off.
So I see guys poke or slap to get a reaction out of the offensive ball carrier. What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, really you want to kind of disrupt the rhythm of the offensive player. Every lacrosse player has a rhythm to which they're cradling the ball. You really want to come in, time up that rhythm, and kind of throw off what he's trying to do, his objective. You might have some slaps, you might have some pokes, but ultimately you want to be dictating the situation rather than the offensive player dictating.
This is a case where you get inside and you can actually lift and dislodge the ball. What is a more advanced, like a professional level takeaway?
Some more advanced checks might be something called the over-the-head check. Now, there's 2 different variations. One, I may be resting my stick on his back, giving Geoff the opportunity to bring that stick forward, and when he does, I'm going to come over his head this way and knock the ball on the ground. The other version of this check is I'm going to have my stick in front of him, punch this guy, and rip this ball down. Now, to finish off the play, what you have to do as a defender, perhaps the most important part of the takeaway check is going to be to pick up that ball and return it to the offensive end, much like a fumble in football.
And that's what you're good at. A takeaway artist is creative, he's aggressive, and he can also weigh risk and reward. The lacrosse goal is big, the ball is small, and speeds up to 100 miles per hour. The goaltending position in lacrosse, one of the toughest in sports. Requiring cat-like quickness and guts, goalies are a different breed. They stick their bodies in front of projectiles when most mortals would duck for cover. Hand-eye coordination and solid angle play are mandatory traits. When the game is on the line, the best goalies are poised and ready to make a difference. We are joined by Jesse Schwartzman, professional goalie, former 2-time NCAA champion, who has the ability to make the game-changing save, the one from point-blank range. How do you do it?
Well, first I got to focus on the shooter's stick. That's where the ball is. That's where it's going to come out. He's going to try and throw me off by faking and all that, so I got to stay focused and patient in the goal. And the third thing, when the ball leaves the stick, I got to react and just throw my body at the ball.
I get the question a lot. I'm sure you do too. What is the toughest shot for you to save?
Well, it's kind of different. Depends where it's coming from, who's shooting it. But in all, I think the toughest shot to save is the offside hit. I mean, first of all, you're standing in the cage, and to get to the offside hit, you either have to go all the way over top or come all the way underneath. And that's just a far movement and tough to make that save.
For you, what was the toughest transition from the college ranks at Johns Hopkins now to Major League Lacrosse?
Well, Johns Hopkins, everyone was good, but we were playing in a system. Now in the pro league as a goalie, every person's a threat. You have to worry about 6 guys on the field that are all shooting 90 miles an hour plus, and the whole speed of the game. There's a shot clock, so the kind of focus has to be there at all times.
What is the toughest aspect of goaltending in the professional ranks?
Guarding the 2-point range and guarding the fast shot. There's a number of guys that can bring the ball 100 miles an hour plus. So I guess just being courageous in the goal is a big thing.
It takes a lot. It takes technique, smarts, focus, and courage if you want to be a successful goalie in lacrosse. We're talking about taking an athlete from another sport and importing him into lacrosse. What athlete from a big-time sport would make a great lacrosse player? Jesse?
I think on my team, I would love a guy like Steve Nash. Obviously, super quick feet. He was a Division I soccer player at Santa Clara, along with basketball. And I mean, he's led the NBA in assists. His vision, his quickness, I think his court awareness would transform well.
As a midi or as an attackman?
To an ex-attackman. I think he'd play really well behind the goal. He'd have an awesome finalizer and a good change of direction.
Great. Geoff?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people come to mind. I'm going to go real abstract and say Laird Hamilton, pro surfer. The guy is he's a machine. He's a maniac when he's out there. I think he'd be a good guy to go to war with.
Would he be a team player? Surfers aren't exactly team players.
I think he would. He's super enlightened. You watch that guy talk. He's pretty down to earth. He'd probably be a real good leader.
Matt?
Well, I'm not going to lie. Jesse stole mine, Steve Nash, so thank you for that. You really put me on the spot here. But I'm going to say, kind of obvious one, but LeBron James. I mean, you put that guy in the middle of the field with a stick in his hands. I mean, there's nobody going to stop him.
How long would it take, for any of you guys, how long would it take for a LeBron James to become competitive in the lacrosse world?
I would say give him a solid 6 months training, lacrosse training, and I mean, obviously all the athletic ability is there, but I mean, picking up a stick is something very foreign to him.
Ken, who's an athlete you'd like to make a teammate of yours?
I think me, obviously defensive-minded. I'd love to see Darrell Rivas put a short stick in his hand, virtually another long stick on the field. I think you put him on some midfielders, and he's really going to cause some problems.
Are there any athletes who wouldn't make a good transition to lacrosse?
Back to LeBron here. I bet you I could rain a three-pointer before he'd score a two-point goal in lacrosse.
I respectfully disagree.
No way.
I mean, I think
would you ever get a shot off in the NBA?
For sure.
I mean, how would you get a shot off?
I got slick moves. Can handle that.
I mean, obviously, like a George Muresan or Manute Bol, they'd be tough to put.
Well, Rivas could play right away. He could play defensive midfield right
Correct.
away. In a second.
Yeah, I mean, Eli Manning would
day.
be a terrible lacrosse player.
I think
and his demeanor would just cause people to try and.
I think
get
soccer
after him.
guys would struggle. I think
You
soccer
do?
guys would definitely struggle.
Yeah, I see the guys at MLS, and quite frankly, they're not physically impressive.
Yeah, I don't think they could. Just, I mean, to be able to run, they're in great shape, but just the physicality of the game, I don't think they could handle.
Yeah, they're a lot smaller than I had imagined.
I think somebody like Julius Peppers, you put a long stick in his hand, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of trouble getting around him, making some moves, plus I think the immediate fear he's going to instill in the attackman's heart.
How about Chara from the Bruins? Put a long pole in his hands. He'd be able to touch a midfield line from the goal crease.
Very interesting topics. I'd like to see Haloti Ngata facing off against Geoff Snider. I like the big man's chances. During their visit to the ESPN headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut, not only did they teach lacrosse, but they enjoyed their surroundings. These guys are characters. They had a lot of fun on this trip.
I was teaching. I feel that others. And both of us.
Dude, you can set a record for tweets as well right now? Yeah.
They're technically cerebral, then maybe there's also watching my video.
Cerebral means using your brain.
If midfielders can play both ways.
We literally just run straight at each other like a couple of barbarians and like see who comes out on top.
Have you seen the new Obi commercial where they're in the print? Where's the print room? I need to go there. Barley pulls them up.
That was a close one. Oh, there we go.
What's next? Dano's done.
We rolling on this, right?
No, Geoff, you gotta get down in face-off. You gotta be in face-off.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. Lacrosse, remember, like any sport, is a game of skill, athleticism, and technique. By incorporating these techniques, you will improve your game regardless of what level you play.